Hola, buenas tardes, Latinoamérica. ¿De qué países nos acompañan? Desde acá, muy buenas noches. Pueden ir dejando en el chat si nos indican de qué países y los podemos y vamos saludando. Vamos a dar unos minutos para que se puedan conectar a todos los que están inscritos para este webinar. Sean todos bienvenidos. Ah, mira, qué bien. Nos acompañan de Chile. Una compatriota, muy bien, de Argentina, Guadalajara, México, bienvenido. ¿Quién más está por acá? Ciudad de México, Sara, bienvenida de Chile. Acá tenemos a Leli de Guadalajara, Jalisco, Francisco Molina de Argentina, bienvenido. Bueno, esta convocatoria está dirigida a todo lo que está a todos los países fuera de España, así que desde ya todos bienvenidos, buenas tardes a todos los que se están uniendo desde Latinoamérica, Estado de México, bienvenida Emma, Álvaro de Alemania, por acá también, saludos de Managua, de Nicaragua, bienvenida, Orlando de Italia, bienvenido. Vamos a dar 2 minutos, un minutito más para todos los que se van sumando y vamos a comenzar con este webinar que tenemos para el día de hoy. ¿Quién más? Hola Mónica, Mónica Ross de España, bienvenida. Sandra, bienvenida de Colombia, perfecto. Bueno, comenzamos para no perder tiempo y ser respetuosas con quienes ya se han conectado. Como ya he dicho al inicio, buenas tardes para todos los que se conectan desde Latinoamérica y buenas noches para los que se conectan desde Europa. Sean todos bienvenidos a este webinar que ya es el cuarto que tenemos desde Vicens Vives. En el mes de septiembre ya hemos tenido 2 webinars hablando de competencia lectora. A inicios de octubre tuvimos uno de literatura y ahora tenemos otro de idiomas. En esta oportunidad nos acompaña Samuel Williams, que está por ahí ya conectado. Gracias, Sam, por conectarte a esta hora. Muchas gracias sobre todo por hacerlo en vivo. Este es un espacio que estamos haciendo en vivo eh, y al final de la presentación incluso van a poder comentar, vamos a tener unos minutos para aclarar dudas para aquellos que quieran hacerlo. Les voy a comentar un poco quién es Sam. Bueno, Sam es un profesor de inglés, creador de contenido, formador de profesores, conocido online como PAPI English. Luego él nos va a comentar qué significa esta sigla, con más de 1 millón de estudiantes y educadores siguiendo sus lecciones en distintas plataformas como Instagram, YouTube y TikTok. Combina todo lo que es el storytelling, viajes y cultura para hacer que el aprendizaje del inglés sea asequible e inspirador. Sam además es el creador principal de contenido del proyecto PAPI English, produciendo contenido de video que fomenta el aprendizaje del inglés a través de la literatura y comparte sus ideas en todo el mundo a través de sesiones de capacitación utilizando su contenido y métodos con el sello de CIDEP Black Cat. Bueno, muchas gracias, Sam. ¿Con quién nos vas a iluminar el día de hoy para que puedas comentar a todos nuestros asistentes?
Muchas gracias. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Yes, my name is Sam, and first and foremost, I'm an English teacher. I come from England, and it's a great pleasure for me to speak to you all today. And I want to say a big thank you also to Vicens Vives for allowing me to have the opportunity to speak to you as well. Um, I think it's the day in Latin America where most of you are. It's pretty late here as well. So any of you who are joining from Europe, well done for staying up late to join this webinar. I'm an English teacher, but I'm also a content creator on Instagram, on YouTube, and on TikTok as well. And the name of my account is PAPI English, but not because I am a papi or anything to do with that. It's called PAPI English because it stands for Practice and Perfection in English. Okay. I know a lot of people from Latin America and Spain think the name is quite funny, but the idea as well is, I guess it's something that sticks in your mind and you remember the name. But I also make videos with Black Cat and make content with Black Cat and resources with Black Cat for stories, for helping learn English through stories, which I think is an amazing way to learn English and to help you teach using stories as well. I make the content and resources for these stories. And today I'm going to talk to you about an amazing story called Wonder by RJ Palacio, which, in my opinion, is an amazing story that you can bring into the classroom because, well, first of all, the students can really relate to it. It's a world that they also experience and they can learn a lot of things also about life through the story as well. And also, I think it's a really great story because it really teaches us themes of friendship and inclusivity, which are really important, in particular, in today's world. I'm going to be talking to you about how you can engage, connect, and create with wonder. Now, I don't spend all of my lessons only teaching using stories, and I understand that a lot of you are very busy and you don't have all the time in the world to teach with stories. Sorry, one moment, I have to let my partner into the flats. Okay. Yes. So I understand that you don't all have all the time in the world to teach with stories. But if we can spend a little bit of time, maybe 1 or 2 lessons, helping the students engage with the story, so helping them motivate with the story, but also helping them connect to the story as well. So connecting to the meanings of the story and how this meaning connects to their life. This is also really important. And also how we can get our students creating something new with stories too. So I'm going to be sharing with you many practical ideas and hopefully it can give you some inspiration on how you can introduce a story like Wonder in your lessons. So to give you an overview of what we're going to talk about, first, there are 3 sections. So the first section is engage, and we're going to discuss what we can do to help our students engage with stories. Then I'm going to look at some practical activities we can do to do that. For example, an engage activity like listen, draw, and imagine, which can really get your students picturing the story, getting them to understand and get curious about what the story is going to be about before reading. Yes?
Disculpa, pero no veo que avance tu presentación.
No?
No, perdóname, pero prefiero decirlo porque quizás hay otros que también están
Ahora
con...
sí.
Sí, estaba
Ahora,
esperando que terminase. Es que salta la presentación, Sam.
Ah, salta.
Sí, se pone otra vez en edición.
Ahora sí ve.
es que en la prueba no pasó esto.
No,
Ahora avanza,
no, estás en
Segundo.
overview, en la 2. Y lo que pasa es como que de la pantalla completa vuelve al normal, al de edición. ¿No, Fabiola?
sí,
Ahora está en pantalla
ahora sí.
completa, pero salta, se va.
Segundo.
Salta
Regrese.
en ¿qué
Let's go
cosa?
check.
Vuelve a edición.
Edición. No entiendo. ¿Ven ahora?
Ahora es, claro, lo que pasa es que cae en la primera y luego algo pasa, que se cae.
Vale. No.
Hi Sam, if
Nunca-
you
Yeah.
you are sharing the screen is going big and minimizing again, so it's not working.
Okay, let me try sharing in another way.
Yes.
Okay, this should work now.
No,
Yeah?
es
No.
que en la
No,
prueba
it keeps
the same
glitching.
thing.
It's just
Yeah, the
glitching.
same.
Sam,
Sure.
can I tell you something? I think
Yeah.
you can use that not necessarily the full screen. It's enough to read that screen.
Like this is
The
okay?
That's enough, I think, to read it.
Okay. Can you see it like now? Everybody can see
Yes.
it fine?
Slide
Okay.
2.
Okay. We'll do it like that. I don't know. It never happened to me on Zoom before with the slides. So I'm not sure what's happening. But okay, if everybody can see it like that, we can go ahead. Okay, we'll look at how we can make some predictions as well about the stories and the characters, which can get your students really curious. And I'm also going to be sharing some video resources. After that as well, I'll look at how we can connect to stories and the different meanings of what it means to connect to stories as well. We'll be looking at some activities to get your students connecting to their emotions and the emotions of the characters in the stories, such as an emoji activity. We'll also be looking at some Cambridge style activities that you can get your students discussing the meaning of the story and how they feel about the story. And finally, how we can get our students making podcasts talking about the story as well. And then we'll be looking at how we can create new things such as comics, how you can create a song using the stories, and I'd like to share some more resources with you as well. So first of all, we'll look at how we can engage with the story. And our students often feel different ways about reading stories in English. Some of our students are like Lena. They're really interested in reading. They enjoy it. They're curious. They're excited about it. But not all of our students are like Lena. Some of our students might be like Matteo. They find it boring, or they say it's okay, or they're not so interested. I don't know if you have more students like Lena or Matteo, maybe more Matteos if you're in my class. But also we have students like Aya as well who find it confusing, find it difficult. They get nervous and anxious about reading. So when I'm creating my lessons for teaching stories, I'm thinking about all of these stories, all of these students, and I'm going to share with you different resources, different videos that can help all of these students connect with stories today. So one thing that I want to do before we read to engage my students is help spark their imagination. So this involves promoting a lot of vivid mental imagery, leaving a lot of room for interpretation as well. So I'm not telling the students everything about the story. I want them to find out for themselves. I want them to picture the story and interpret it in their own way. One way I can do this is by painting pictures with words, also helping them find the emotional connection, invite them to make their own predictions as well, and help build curiosity. I also want to help my students who are not necessarily strong readers. So just because we're reading doesn't mean all of my students are going to be amazing at reading. So I want to involve different learning styles. I want to make reading interactive for my students and create an immersive learning environment and encourage as much play and fun as possible. So with the resources and ideas that I'll share with you, there are videos, there are listening activities, listening to podcasts, listening to songs, role plays, acting out, and really bringing the story to life, bringing this multi-sensory learning to life to really make it engaging for our learners. And hopefully, if we do all of this, our students are really going to enjoy stories in the classroom and they're going to want to read at home. If we engage them at the beginning with the story, then they're going to be motivated to read at home. And when I come into my next class, it's not that none of my students know anything about the story, which does sometimes happen. When I ask them, okay, so what do we know about the story? Nothing, teacher. Hopefully, if we do this at the beginning, they'll have an idea of what the story is about and they're going to actually want to read the story as well. Okay, I can't demonstrate this activity showing you the presentation like this, but I will explain the activity for you. And this is an activity that I use with my students to engage them with the story and get them curious about the story. So really hoping to motivate them to want to read the story at home. And what I do is I have a picture like this. So this is a picture from Wonder. the main character, August. And what I do is I just describe the picture to them. I don't tell them anything about the story before they start reading. I don't tell them the title. I don't show them the book. Everything they have to find out for themselves. So I can describe the picture and they can ask me questions. So I might say to them, okay, have you got your pen and pencil? I want you to draw a boy. And hopefully my students are curious. They'll ask, okay, what does the boy look like? What color is his hair? What is he wearing? And I can describe it to my students and they're going to draw. I can say the boy is holding something. He's holding two things. They can try and guess what he's holding. Is he holding a book? Is he holding a phone? No, eventually my students guess he's holding a ball. He's holding an ice cream. They're going to draw exactly what I'm describing. Not taking too much time, hopefully, just sketching. And then I'll say, okay, around the boy, there are some of his favorite things. And the students can try and guess what his favorite things are. Eventually they guess, oh, it's a bike and it's a games console. And they can draw what I describe about them. Hopefully they're thinking about this boy. Who is he? Getting curious about him, creating that mental imagery. And hopefully then they'll want to learn more about him as well. What I like to do then is say, okay, for your illustration, for your picture, I'd like you to invent a title for this story. So what would you call this story? Your students can come up with their own creative titles, and then they've got their title and illustration. I can get students to share their illustrations and titles with each other. They can vote whose is their favorite, compare who has the best drawing, who has the best title, and we can make it a little game, a little competition as well. Your students are hopefully going to be really curious then about what it is about. As an activity you could do later, your students could write their own story using the title and illustration that they've made. But eventually I'm going to say, okay, now this story is about a boy, and the story is called Wonder. I also like to get my students guessing and making predictions what the story is about. So for example, with the same illustration, I can give the students some questions. So what is his name? How old is he? Where does he live? What are his hobbies? What is his favorite food? My students can make the predictions based on this. So I think his name is Sam. I'm Sam, probably not. How old is he? I think he is 10 years old. Where does he live? I think he lives in the United States. What are his hobbies? This question, maybe they have a better idea. Games or bikes, playing football. What is his favorite food? Well, probably he likes eating ice cream. Getting our students really getting curious about what it's about. So these are, a couple of activities that we can do to get our students curious. So just to give you an overview, listen and draw. Listen to the description of the teacher. The teacher doesn't show the image, and the teacher here has to elicit as much information from the students as possible. If possible as well, our students should ask for more details. For example, where is it? How big is it? What color is it? So that they can make their drawing as detailed as possible. The students can then guess the story. So tell them it's from a real story. Can they invent a title for the picture? And then eventually we're going to reveal the front cover of the book or the picture that we've been describing and the title. We can compare and discuss whose picture is the most similar, whose title is the closest, etc. Also, we can reveal the character and get the students making predictions about the character. What's his name? How old is he? Make your predictions. Tell your students then that it's actually a character from a real story, and explain that we're going to read to check our predictions are correct or incorrect. What surprised us most about the story and the predictions? I'd like to now share with you a video resource that can help engage your students and motivate them to read. So also with Black Cat, we make videos on social media. For example, this one, which can help your students understand a little bit what the story is about, and also learn some key words from the story. So I'll play the video so you can also see how you can use it in your classroom.
Let's practice your English with the story Wonder. Can you see the boy with the blonde hair? That's August. It is August's first day at school. August is nervous. His mom gives him a hug. August was born with a deformed face. August's classmates are curious about his face. They ask August a lot of They ask him a lot of questions. August and his classmates begin their first lesson. The teacher tells them how she expects them to behave in the classroom. The teacher explains the school. The teacher explains the school rules. August feels lonely at school. A girl called Summer speaks to August. August makes a new friend. You can learn a lot about friendship and practice your English with the story Wonder.
Okay, so these videos, I mean, we have a lot of these videos. Let me share my desktop. They're all for all different levels. So if you find, for example, at the Black Cat website and you click on video tips, there are videos for all the different stories. And a lot of them help introduce the story and introduce the first 5 key words of the story that can really help your students understand what the story is about before reading, get them curious about the story before reading as well. And what this can do, you can then, so the videos are made using the illustrations from the books. So then you can show the illustrations to your students that they've seen in the video. And then for higher levels, you can get them retelling the story based on what they've understood from the video so far in their own words using the illustration. And that's going to give them a lot more of a base knowledge before reading to help them understand the story, and they're going to be much more engaged and ready to read. So those are some ideas of how we can engage and motivate our students before reading a story. I like to spend half a lesson giving them this extra help before reading. I find it's much more likely they're going to read the story, and also much more likely they're going to understand the story as well. But next, we're going to get into the meat of today's talk, which is really about connecting to the story. So I mentioned before, this is a story about friendship and inclusivity. And I really want my students to understand these themes and also how these themes relate to them. And I can do this at all levels. So I'm going to give you an example for lower level English learners, all the way to a B2 level, how you can explore the themes from Wonder. So helping students connect with stories. There are some important points to mention. We want to explore the key morals and life lessons from the story. So in this case, friendship and inclusivity. And if we can, we want then to take these life lessons from the story and connect it to our students' experiences as well. So experiences that they have. With this story Wonder, it's easier to do because it's in a world that they are very familiar with. And then we also want to look at how we can encourage empathy as well through the characters' eyes. So we want to put ourselves in the shoes of the characters. What would it be like to be them? And then finally, we want to help our students reflect about the values and choices that the characters made. There is also other things that we connect to with stories, especially with Wonder, which is cultural awareness. So understanding other cultures, how they're similar to ours, how they're different to ours, and this can help us understand our culture better. And also when we're connecting to stories like this, we are thinking about critical thinking. So we are thinking what we should do, what's the right thing to do, what's the wrong thing to do. And these are also very important factors. So one activity I like to do with my students to help them connect is I ask them to close their eyes and I describe something from the story. And my students hopefully are going to be then imagining, picturing this world of the story, and I ask them questions as I describe. So for example, close your eyes and I want you to imagine you are August. Just like in the story, it is your first day at a new school. And I tell my students, you walk in the school building and it's big. You see many children, some children look at you. Some smile, some don't, and you walk down the hall. What do you see on the walls? My students can tell me, I see a clock, I see posters, I see pictures. What do you hear in the school? I hear children shouting, I hear children playing, I hear the teacher shouting, maybe, hopefully not in an angry way. Okay, I tell them, okay, now I want you to imagine you go into the classroom and the teacher says, welcome, August, and you sit down. And a boy next to you says, hi, I'm Jack. What does the classroom look like? Well, they might say big. What is on your desk? I've got a pencil case. I've got pencils, pens, my books. What does Jack look like? Describe Jack to me. Okay, he's tall. He's got brown hair. What do you want to say to him? I want to say hello. I want to say, do you want to go for lunch together? I get my students imagining and answering these questions, putting them in the shoes of the character. What would it be like on your first day of school, like August, when he's nervous? Everybody knows him. He's new and nobody knows him. I then can ask my students, okay, how does it feel like to be August on your first day at school? Can you draw an emoji? So for lower levels, my students can already start connecting with the emotions, even though they don't have the language skills to express it in English yet. So they might draw an emoji like this, of a sad face or a worried face. So we understand that this is a difficult situation that we can all relate to, starting school for the first time. I can then ask my students, okay, how does he feel? Can we come up with any adjectives? My students say he feels scared, maybe excited, he's nervous, or he's happy. I can then ask my students, okay, in English, are these positive emotions or negative emotions? Well, if he's scared, that's a negative emotion. But if he's excited, that's a positive emotion. Nervous, again, in English, it's negative. Okay, but if he's happy, it's a positive. Okay, so are these positive feelings or negative feelings? I can then ask my students, okay, when do you feel these emotions? So I feel scared when I see a spider, teacher. I feel excited when it's my birthday. I'm nervous when I have a test. I'm happy when I play with friends. So can we think of more situations when we feel all of these emotions that maybe the character of August is feeling in the story? And then for my lower levels, I can get them doing role plays. So working in twos. Okay, I want one student to be August and one student to be the classmate. And they have to welcome August to the school. So August has what he has to say. My name is August. I feel a bit nervous. Tell him a bit about your favorite school subject. And the other student welcoming August has to be nice to him, ask him questions. What is your favorite subject? Do you like school? And make a little role play introducing each other to the school for the first time. I can then ask my students, okay, how does it feel now? How does August feel now? And they can draw an emoji and hopefully he feels happy. So we can show how friendship and including new students to the school is really important using a story at Wonder. Even at a low level, these activities are fairly basic English level. So even to explore the themes of the story, a lot of times teachers tell me it's difficult at lower levels, but I think we can do it. We just have to break it down a little bit for our students. But what I'd like to share with you next is how we can do this for higher level students as well. So as I mentioned before, about Cambridge style speaking activities. So this is a part 3 Cambridge exam activity. And it's a really useful activity to get your students speaking and putting themselves in the shoes of the characters. It's a really useful activity to do using stories if you're preparing for Cambridge exams, especially B1 and B2 level. But you can do it even if you're not preparing for the exam, because it's really a great speaking activity. Discussing choices and coming to a decision. So I've made this activity in a Cambridge style speaking for the story Wonder. In the middle, I've got a scenario for my students. A new student has joined your school. You want to help them feel welcome and comfortable. Here are some ideas of what you could do. Around the scenario, I have 5 different ideas that my students can discuss to help the student fit in the school. So show them around the school, introduce them to your friends, sit together in class for the first week, help them understand the school rules, and organize a small welcome party. What my students have to do is they have to discuss each option, why it's good or why it's bad. So what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages? And then finally, they have to choose one option. Okay, they have to agree together on one option. So just like you would do it in the speaking exam. So for example, student 1 says, in my opinion, I think we should show August around the school so that he is familiar with the places he needs to go for his lessons and he doesn't get lost. What do you think, student 2? I agree, it's a good idea, but I think it would be more fun if we organize a small welcome party, because that way he will meet more people and he can make more friends, and also we can have a lot of fun. So in my opinion, that's better. Do you agree? And student 1 says, I disagree, because welcome parties can be very scary because there's a lot of people and it can be intimidating. So we can start to discuss each option and then come to a decision. With stories, I think this is an amazing activity to get your students discussing the scenarios in the story and coming to decisions and really putting themselves in the shoes of the characters. In this one, I'm asking them to imagine the scenario of wonder that a new student comes to your school. But for example, with other stories, you can create other Cambridge-style speaking activities to discuss what the character should do in different situations. So for example, I can say, okay, create a Cambridge speaking part 3 activity. Robin Hood steals money from the rich. Give 5 options for students to discuss what to do with the money. So we can use AI to generate many different speaking activities for our students to discuss the different options. So then ChatGPT in this case has made it for me. Robin Hood has stolen money from the rich. Now he wants to decide what to do with it. Discuss these ideas with your partner and decide which is the best way to use the money. Give it to 4 families in the village. Build a free school for children. Use it to create jobs for local people. Give it to the king to make peace. Keep it to protect his band of outlaws. Any situation that a story gives you, you can create these amazing speaking activities that get your students, putting your students in the place of the characters and trying to decide what is the best thing to do. So especially starting from B1 level, this is really useful. You can also do it at B2 level, especially if your students are preparing for PET or first certificate exams. I really recommend that as an activity. It really helps your students connect real life and fiction. So the students discuss situations similar to those in stories, for example, helping others or feeling new or different. This activity also really encourages empathy and perspective taking. So the learners imagine how others feel, like the characters in the stories. It promotes critical thinking. So students compare options, they have to make decisions and explain their reasons, just like analyzing story choices. And it also builds communication skills. So the students have to work together, they have to negotiate and express themselves clearly, listen to each other, and be polite. And it also helps increase cultural and emotional awareness. It helps students understand universal human experiences seen in stories and in real life. So these emotions are emotions that are happening all over the world. This is something that we can all learn from. It's not something that's only happening in our school or in our students. So I think it's a really great activity that you can do to explore the emotions and how the characters feel. Finally, to connect with the story, I'd also like to share with you how you can create a podcast talking about these emotions that we experience in the story, how we can explore friendship, inclusivity using a story like Wonder. And I'm encouraging teachers to use more podcasts in their lessons because it gives students input of more conversational English, which is really important to help understand our listening comprehension. And also, if we can get our students creating their own podcasts, also creating more conversational output as well, being able to communicate outwardly in English in a more conversational manner, which is extremely important. So I'd like to share with you the website notegpt.io, AI podcast generator. And this is a website that you can use to turn Wonder and the themes of Wonder into a podcast that your students can listen to. So to make the podcast, you can put in text. So for example, I put make a podcast discussing the story Wonder and what it teaches us about friendship and inclusivity. I can also choose the voices that the podcast is going to use. I can choose the language, the accent, the gender, and the age. So I can also make podcasts in Spanish, British English, American English, whatever language you want to choose as well. And then I can choose how many people are going to be talking in the podcast, the type of content it is. So is it educational? Is it interview? Funny podcast? I'm choose an interview. I can choose the length of the podcast. So I want to keep it fairly short. So I keep my students engaged and they don't get too bored listening. And then the AI is going to generate the podcast for me. It's going to create a script. So this is the script of my podcast, which I can edit. So if it's too difficult, I can change the language, or if there's something that I don't like as well, I can change the language. And then I can continue generating the podcast. In a moment, the podcast is going to play, so you can see what it's like.
You know, the first time I read Wonder, I was totally struck by how honest and heartfelt it is. The story of Augie, this boy with a facial difference starting school for the first time, just grabbed me from page 1. What stood out to you most when you first encountered the book?
Honestly, what really hit me right away was the sense of vulnerability. Augie's worries about how people would look at him felt so real, like even if you haven't been in his exact shoes, everyone's felt out of place at some point. That universality is one of the book's quiet strengths.
Absolutely. It's like the author found a way to capture those little moments of self-doubt that we all experience. But through Augie, they're magnified. I remember even small classroom interactions felt loaded with meaning every glance, every whisper.
And yet, there's so much hope threaded through those moments. Like the way some kids step up and show kindness, those small acts become incredibly powerful. I think it's a reminder that, even in tough situations, there's always the potential for connection.
That actually reminds me of Jack, Will, and Summer, who both decide to befriend Augie even when it's not the easy choice.
Okay, so then what we can do is we can let our students listen to the podcast. We can even say, okay, go and listen to it at home or listen to it on your way home on the bus, something like that. something that they can listen to in their own time when they're more relaxed. We can obviously also make them listen to it in the classroom as well. We can put the script into AI to create activities, true or false, listening comprehension activities, so that they can listen and we can check how much they understood. But ideally, what I want to do with my students, especially at a higher level now, is can you make your own podcast discussing the stories? I can give them that as an example, and then I want them to make their own podcast. Again, I can use AI. So, for example, I've generated podcast questions discussing friendship and inclusivity for wonder. So it's generated some questions that my students can discuss in their podcast. So, for example, questions getting into the topic. What does the word friendship mean to you personally? What do you think why do you think it's sometimes hard for people to include others who are different is another question. And we've got questions specifically about the story as well. Your students can create their own questions, but if they need some more support, we can give them example questions that they can use. So to make the podcast then, they can choose a topic, for example, friendship and inclusivity and wonder. They plan roles. So for example, one person is going to be a host and the other one is going to be a guest. They can write an outline, so an introduction. Today we're going to talk about friendship and inclusivity and wonder. It's a very important topic that affects all of us in school. I'd like to introduce my guest, blah, 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 and we're going to discuss this. Then you can choose 5 to 6 questions that the guest will answer, and then there can be a closing message as well. Friendship and inclusivity are more important than ever. So your students can write down the script or they can write down an outline depending on their level. They can practice speaking the podcast, be clear in a natural tone, and then they can even record the podcast as well. So they can use a quiet room, they can use their phone to record the podcast, they can edit it, they can add music to the podcast, make it more professional, and then they can share it with their classmates. So each group maybe can listen to each other's podcasts. They can vote which is their favorite podcast, and they can ask questions about each other's podcasts as well. So that way, more students get more listening practice and creating more conversational English. So we've looked at what we can do to connect with the theme of wonder, the themes of wonder, from very early, maybe young learners who need a little bit more support to explore the themes, finalizing in a role play, and then more intermediate learners discussing different options. What would you do in this situation? Or what would you do if you were the character? And then finally, how we can create a podcast really deep dive into these themes and creating something that your students can be proud of. Which then brings us on to the final part of today's webinar, which is create. If we can create something new, like a podcast with the story, that can really give our students a sense of achievement, that they managed to create something of their own. I know a lot of teachers like to give their students tests after reading. I think if you can give them a creative activity, it also tests their comprehension, but also it helps deepen their comprehension further. It also pushes their language skills to explore the story further as well. And they get a sense of achievement when they create something new. So helping students create with stories, well, they use the information from the story in a new way. That's how they deepen their comprehension. They explore the characters in a new way, or a theme in a new way, or they can do creative retelling of the story, which can really help nail down their comprehension of what the story is about, what happens in it. Now, for lower levels, for young learners, I really want to create something new using the theme of kindness. One of the quotes, when given the choice between being right or being kind, choose kind. So I really want to create something new with this idea about being kind with my younger learners. So one thing you can do is you can make your own kindness superhero. I tell my students. Okay, so can you name your superhero? What's his name? My students say a Captain Kind, a Friendly Flash. We can think of some names of our superhero. What is their special power? They can fly, they're super strong, but maybe some things as well, like they make sad people smile. They can hear when someone's lonely and they go and save them. Your students can decide, okay, what do they wear? Something colorful, shiny, something cool. Give them a mission as well. What's their mission? Help people be kind, stop bullying, teach people to include others. Even your students can think, okay, what sidekick or pet should the character have as well? Your students can then make their own comic strip about the character. So we can give them a kind of story arc to give them a framework. Okay, so an introduction, and then the problem grows, the superhero arrives, kindness spreads, happy ending, and a final message. Depending on the level of your students, the comic can be a bit more elaborate, but this is just a very simple example. You can give them a template for really lower levels to really help them create the comic. And then you can even finalize, share the comics, put them on your walls. So just to break down, create your own kindness superhero, demonstrate a comic strip with the class, maybe do one on the board beforehand so they have an idea of what it should look like. Give them a piece of paper, them to divide it up into sections so that they have some kind of template. Let your students color decorate the comic strips. They can present the comic strips. You can hang it. You can have a kindness heroes wall and display them in your class as well. So this is an idea of the theme of wonder, what you could do for younger learners at lower levels. But for higher levels as well, we can do more elaborate activities to create something new. So what I'd like to share with you now is an activity I've been doing a lot with my students for a long time now, which is creating songs with stories. And this is creating a creative summary of the story. And I'd like to share with you how you can use AI to give your students an example of a song summarized in a story. So here I have a short summary of the story Wonder. You can create the summary yourself, or you can use AI to create the summary for you if that helps save you time. And we're going to turn this summary into a song that your students can listen to help them understand the story better and also inspire them to be creative as well. So the website that I want to share with you to make this into a song is called aisongmaker.io. And what you do is you can copy the summary of the story and you can put it into ChatGPT, for example. You say, turn it into a song, A2 English level, in this case, and then ChatGPT is going to create the lyrics of the song for Wonder for you. You can create the lyrics yourself as well, but this way I save time. I can copy the lyrics and I put it into this website. I have to choose a title. So for example, Wonder Song. And then I choose the genre. So I've got pop, Latin music, blues. I've chosen pop. Choose the vibe as well. So for example, party, happy, sad. I choose happy. I can choose the tempo. So for a slower song or a faster song, also depends on the level of your students. I can choose the instruments. And I can choose if it's a male or female or just random. And that's going to generate a song for our summary. Takes a few minutes, but then it's pretty cool. So think about how you could use a song like this in your lesson as well as you listen to the song. It should start any second now.
Boy with a special face. He's different, but he's full of grace. He's had many surgeries, oh so long, but his heart is brave and strong.
Sam, no se oye.
You don't hear it?
No, deja de
Uh,
compartir pantalla y cuando vayas a volver a compartir pantalla, abajo en la ventana pone compartir sonido. Dale a compartir pantalla
okay.
y pone un botoncito compartir sonido.
Okay.
Share.
Yeah. Sí, lo he hecho, sí. Tengo que poner mi... Okay. I have to go. Um,
No sé si lo estás poniendo.
Wait a second, because I cannot get to the... Okay, maybe with this. Can you hear it?
Sí.
Yeah? Okay.
Perfecto.
Augie's a boy with a special face. He's different, but he's full of grace. He's had many surgeries, oh so long, but his heart is brave and strong. Be kind, be brave, that's Augie's way. He smiles and shines every day. Different is okay, that's what he shows. Kindness is the way it grows.
Okay, so just so you have an idea of the song that you can make, obviously you can do many listening activities with these songs as well. They're quite funky, quite enjoyable. Hopefully your students enjoy them. They can add it to their Spotify list as well. I think I'm going to start making the songs and adding them to Spotify, so there's a soundtrack for all of the stories. And then they can do, for example, listening activities. I've done many activities with students. For example, I cut out the lyrics of the song. They have to listen and put the story in the correct order by listening to the lyrics, or creating closed activities where they have to fill in the gaps with the missing words in the songs as well. But ideally, what I want to inspire my students to do with this, as this is the create section, is to create their own songs summarizing the stories that they're learning in classes. So, for example, I've used AI again here to create rhyming word pairs for a song like Wonder. So, for example, I put into ChatGPT, create rhyming word pairs for a Wonder song, and it's given me this. So, for example, it's given me rhyming words for school and friendship, about feelings and courage, and about Augie's journey. And my students can use this to start using it as a template to create a song. For example, August goes to school. He's worried he isn't cool. So it can be like a song, like a rap. August is shy, but that doesn't stop him from trying. Something like that. I mean, your students will have more time. August has a dream, but he needs a team. Your students don't have to make a song. They can also just make simple sentences using this, and then they can put it together to create a summary about what the story is about, using all of the rhyming words as well. If your students are stronger at a higher level, also they don't necessarily need these rhyming words to create their song for the story. So your students can create their own song. So they can choose the story or idea, for example, wonder, friendship, kindness, courage. Pick the length of the song as well. So maybe shorter is better. Give them a simple structure. So the verse tells about the story. Maybe the chorus tells about the main message. And then I give them the rhyming pairs if they need support. So pick 6 to 8 pairs from the list to make the lines that rhyme. And then write the lines, 6 to 8 words per line. So you want it to be fairly simple, not too complicated. Keep the grammar simple as well. And then the chorus they can repeat. So, for example, give the chorus a clear message, be kind, be brave, something like that. Just like the AI generated. So they can use the AI to inspire them to create these songs as well. So we can do many different activities to create something new with stories. For lower levels, we can create something like comics, something that like posters that can put on the walls. For higher levels, we can start creating even podcasts. We can create songs, podcasts talking about the themes of the story, the songs, doing a creative retelling of the story as well. I'd also like to share with you some extra resources that you can find to explore wonder. If you scan the QR code here, that would take you to all of the videos that you can explore. We also have video raps with an amazing English teacher called Jason Levine, who teaches English through rap. So for many stories, we have rap videos that are creative summaries of the stories that your students can listen to. We also have a version of the rap where they can listen and they can repeat. And also on the website, if you search the book, you can find the free resources such as extra lesson plans, reading activities, extra listening activities as well with all of the audio tracks. So if you go to the Black Cat website, for example, and put in Wonder, you can find the resources and the videos there. Okay, so we've looked at how we can engage our students, connect with students and create something new. Often a question that my teachers ask me, okay, but how much time do I have to spend in the lesson to do this? For me personally, I think we only have to spend a little bit of time engaging, maybe half an hour, connecting, maybe half an hour as well, and then they continue doing the activity at home, if it's a poster or a podcast that they're making. And then creative activity as well, maybe half of a lesson setting it up, and then they can do the rest at home as well for homework. And then most of the reading, you can do it in the school as well. But hopefully, if we bring the story to life and make it creative like this will inspire our students to do the reading at home in a more relaxed environment. Nowadays, I think kids don't read that much. There's a lot of distractions going on. There's a lot of social media, games, consoles, many different things that they can be distracted by, and reading is kind of being forgotten. So I think we have an important job to try and inspire our students to read more in schools, because I think it's so important, because we learn so many important things about life through reading, like friendship and inclusivity through wonder. But in every story has themes and life lessons to explore. So finally, I'd like to say a big thank you for listening to me today, and I'll be happy to hear any of your thoughts. If you'd like to share any thoughts or ideas, or if you have any questions, it would be great, fantastic, amazing to hear from you. I would love it. So thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Sam. Excelentes ideas para la clase y muy aplicables además.
Gracias. Perdona para todas las cosas que no funcionan hoy.
No, es en un en vivo. Cuando
Sí,
estamos en vivo, estas cosas pueden pasar.
pasa lo que pasa, sí.
Exacto. Mira, en el chat tienes algunas preguntas. Si quieres, las vas contestando tú mismo. Tenemos una pregunta ahí de Urbina. Luego hay alguna de Paula. Tarán, tararán. A ver. Orlando también te ha dejado un comentario.
The link, Orlando, is the link to the website for the videos.
Well, we tried to scan the QR code, but it doesn't open to anything. I think he means that because we tried to open the link or the QR code, but nothing really opens here.
Okay, I've put in the link into the chat now. So
Thank you.
can use that instead. Okay, so Natalia says, okay, your work is definitely inspiring. Thank you for sharing. Okay, I'm glad you found it inspiring. I hope, yeah, I mean, every story that we introduce to our students is different, so it shouldn't be the same. So this was a very specific example, but hopefully it can inspire you. Whatever stories you want to introduce into your students, it can inspire different ideas. I've got a question here. How can I do the song? So you can do the song using the AI Songmaker website. It's very simple. You put in the lyrics, you can invent the lyrics yourself, or you can use AI to create the lyrics if you want to save time, and that will create the song for you. It's very, very simple. But then you can share it with your students. And then if you want your students to create their own song, it's a little bit more complicated, but a lot more rewarding linguistically, and also much more rewarding for helping them comprehend what the story is about, because it's a creative summary idea. Also, one thing that I like to do with my students, especially higher levels, is I can divide the story into different groups. So each group has a chapter, and I get the students to write the lyrics of the song for that chapter. Okay, summarizing the chapter as a song or a rap. And then I can get the students to compare their raps, their songs, or have like a wrap off of all of the chapters of the story as well. Very practical. Yeah, thank you. I hope that, yeah, most of my ideas, I don't like to get too much into the theory and stuff, but yeah, more like practical ideas. Yeah,
Ahí
if you
Paula te ha dejado recién otro comentario. I really love this.
I really love the ideas and the website to create songs and podcasts. Great to work with teenagers. Yes, I think the songs and podcasts can definitely be a lot more useful for teenagers. I think also the songs can be useful for younger learners, especially if you use a slower tempo. They can listen to it and enjoy it a lot as well. Cecilia says the podcast generator link didn't work in my case. Maybe I wrote it wrong. I'm going to put the podcast generator link into the chat, Cecilia. So it's there in the chat. Also, one thing I didn't mention about the podcast is you can also turn videos into podcasts. So if there's a video that talks about a theme in the story, you can turn that into a podcast. We also have videos, for example, Moby Dick, which talks about marine conservation using the story Moby Dick. You can turn that into a podcast just using the information from the video as well. Also, a lot of stories have dossiers about the themes that you can add to here, and that will create a podcast using the dossiers from the books.
Bueno, pero cualquier problema, como vamos a compartir tu presentación, Sam, ahí seguro que ya no queda ninguna duda. La IA siempre es un desafío, ¿ah? Nos pasa con todas las asignaturas. Hay que atreverse. Hay que ir por ella.
Sí.
No tener susto. Bueno, no tenemos más preguntas, Sam. Vamos a dejar este espacio hasta acá, agradecer a todos quienes se han conectado y bueno, estamos con otros espacios también vamos a tener el último webinar de este año 2025 y seguramente el 2026 ya estaremos planificando otras actividades, sobre todo para la asignatura de idiomas. Muchas gracias a todos por su asistencia. Sam, reiterarte nuestros agradecimientos ya que estás en Alemania y en este minuto son, no sé cuánta diferencia tenemos de hora. ¿Qué hora tienes allá?
12:30.
Ah, bueno, estamos igual.
Es la hora para dormir.
Pero tienes juventud, Sam, así que
Sí,
seguro que no es
pero
problema eso.
acabé de volver de México, entonces.
Ah, bueno, sí,
Mario está-
Sam nos estuvo acompañando en una gira por Latinoamérica, anduvo en Perú y estuvo en México y ahora próximamente también estará con algunos profesores de Colombia. Bueno, muchas gracias a todos, que estén muy bien y nada, los esperamos en una próxima ocasión con otro webinar y quizás con otras historias entretenidas que puedas tener, Sam. Adiós, bye.
Muchas gracias. Bye.
Thank you very much, Sam. See you soon.